All right, guys, so we're going to be diving into lane position. We're going to be discussing, Zane and I, what my choices were.
Is it important?
So here we're coming up. It's pretty quiet right now, but we're going to get into some intersections here. There's a blind hill, so I'm of course on the right side of the lane. There's no lines in the road, so that's something to watch out for. And no one's here, so we're good. And Zane, you could chime in as well if you have any questions or you could pause it.
Yeah, and I mean, as we're going here, there's a lot of art to it. You know, there's not always a right or a wrong. It's a kind of a constant balance um, of factors. You know, of being able to see and being seen. Those are kind of the two things that I'm kind of constantly juggling. And like I say, you know, there's room for kind of priorities and what's more important to you.
So here, and that's where I guess we could say, there may be a time where there's not a right answer. There may be two right answers, or you could pick a spot where it's like, yeah, this is the best option as possible. It's not perfect, but there is no perfect option. So we just have to weigh it. Now, this intersection is interesting because there's three stop signs. On the right here, I have one, and on my left, oncoming traffic does not have one. So I just wanted to point that out. So coming in, I'm picking the left because I want to see in front of me. I want to make sure that I can see the driver mirror the guy in front of me, and I can also see oncoming traffic as well, and then they can see me, and then we're zipping ahead.
A lot of times that's my default as well on a road like this where there's, you know, one lane each direction. I'll kind of get over to the left so I can see up the road and people can see me sooner as well.
And that's what we're going back to is, we're just trying to be seen as best we can. And you'll see here on this stretch, I'll be riding pretty close to traffic. We call it lane one in our lane. And I do that again to be visible, to be able to see as far as I can in front of the guy in front of me. And so here we go. Here in a little bit, we'll be getting up to this. There's a truck pulling out, and I want to be in this lane because I want him. You see them in the left here, right ahead. I just want to make sure that he sees me. I don't know what he's going to be doing, but since I'm in the lane one, I know he sees me, or better
Yeah,
chance.
yeah. So I would say with this, just kind of going back a little bit,
Yeah.
this is one of those times where it's a little there's some art to it. So um, right here, where if that car was not in front of me, um, I would be over to the right in position in lane position 3 because the SUV, the white SUV, can gauge your speed more accurately when you're over to the right, as far away from as possible. Um, but with that SUV being in front of you, then you would be, if you were to do that, you're also less visible. And so I would have made this same choice and stayed in position 1 like this.
So there we go. Past that, we have a grocery store on the right. I'm watching out for intersection. I have a Dollar General on the left. Now I'll pause this. I'll actually go back a hair. Now with this line of cars, I'll pause it right here. You see the line of cars. If this SUV was not in front of me, I would be in lane position 3, just because the person behind this first car, this white car right here, they will be able to see me. It's not so much here where people are going to pass the slower people, but you'll see later on, there's a chance of people not seeing you if you're in lane position 1 because the car in front of the line is blocking you, and all of a sudden they're passing, and then all of a sudden you're right there. So being in lane position 3 when there's a long line of cars on a 2-lane highway is advantageous. So there's a better chance of them seeing you. So here, I like lane position 1 still because there's so many roads coming in. You see the truck on the right just pulled up, but I want to give myself option. And just like what you were saying, Zane, previously when the car was pulling in on the left-hand side, lane position 3 was more important because there's a greater distance and they could gauge your speed. Just like here, if you're in lane position 1, the truck on the right, they have that same
Exactly. Yeah, they have that same advantage. being able to see your movement better.
Yeah. Again, we got this car on the left waiting to come out, and since that SUV is in front, I want to see who's in front of me far down the road. But again, if that SUV wasn't there, we would pick lane position 3 so he could gauge my speed. And also one thing that I've noticed when I'm driving my car is that brace next to your windshield, that's a blind spot. And if you're riding further away or they have that angle, if you're in lane position 3, you're going to hopefully miss that blind spot easier so they can see you through their windshield. So just a little 2 cents that I
And I would add too here, like if this SUV on the left that's getting ready to pull out, if it were to not see you and pull out, if you couldn't stop in time, a really good plan B would be to lane split over to the right, because you can see the SUV in front of you. There's room for a motorcycle in there if if you needed to.
Yep.
So just having that kind of internal, I guess, planning is always a good idea.
I'll go ahead and have you push play on this next one. There's going to be some stuff coming up, and you can kind of just explain what you would do.
So I'd be doing a wheelie at this point, because it just feels right. No, just kidding. So yeah, my default again is lane position 1 on a road like this, just because I feel like again you can see up the road more, and people can see you. So look, obviously he's slowing down there. It's like everybody's slowing down a little bit. So I'm always looking in my mirror when this happens. If there's a slowdown, I'm looking to make sure the people behind me are slowing down and make a plan to lane split if I have to, so I don't get rear-ended.
Yeah.
Because I've been rear-ended 3 times in a car. Luckily, I've never been rear-ended on a motorcycle, but I'm naturally I pay attention and I'm more defensive on a motorcycle because the stakes are higher.
Yeah.
So again, this is lane position 1's great because you can see all the way down the road. You can see if there's a mattress out there, somebody, something in the road where they're kind of going between, their tires are on both sides of it, and they don't have to dodge it, but it's a problem for you if you don't see it in time.
So here, this is typically with this intersection, this is a busy intersection. I don't know if there's construction going on where there's no cars this morning, but what I like to do in this, because you have a major intersection, stop signs on both sides, there's a lot of crossing in front of people, turning right, turning left, very complicated sometimes. So I demonstrated here what I normally do, and you'll notice that I swerve in and out to draw attention to myself. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, actually, I initially thought that seam in the concrete was significant, and you were hitting it at a steeper angle and not so shallow. But yeah, I'll do that as well. I'll kind of move around a little bit if I feel like somebody's not seeing me.
So this car here is turning in front of me. So I'm watching him pretty close. I'm in lane position 1. I see his headlights in a distance there. So I'm going to push play. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, so this is, I think, a perfect example of kind of there sometimes being 2 right answers. Because in order to be the most visible here, for them to, again, perceive your speed more accurately, being over in lane position 3 makes the most sense. So there's no other oncoming traffic. We see he's getting in the turn lane, and so that's a threat, right? Because if they don't see you and they pull out in front of you, that's a classic, really tough situation to get through. And so, first of all, I'm always covering the brakes when I'm riding in traffic. My fingers are always on the brakes, which saves you a ton of time if you need to go to the brakes. But again, to be more visible in terms of them perceiving your speed, being in lane position 3 makes the most sense. But if I were to if you were to not see me and turn out in front of me, the most logical direction to swerve would be left around him, because there's no other oncoming traffic, and he's not going to turn hard right his direction, or turn left your direction. He's going to be turning right. And so that's where it's like, well, what's more important to me? Being set up for a good escape or making myself the most visible? And that's a tough choice. There's
Yeah.
no wrong answer there.
Hey guys, go ahead and like and subscribe. Hang out next week with us for part 2. We'll catch you later.